he is number one. If he's not number one, I think he's number two. He'll probably start for England under Thomas Tuchel, you would assume.
Think so.
And I think that will provide a platform for him to prove that he's the best in the world in his position. Red card again, ole ole. Short, snappy answer.
All right,
from
okay.
you, please, Dan.
Okay.
Robert
So
Sanchez.
impatient, your generation.
Hello and welcome back to the Sun's Chelsea Exposed show here on the Chelsea Sunsport YouTube channel. I'm Lloyd Canfield here with the Honourable Dan King next to me, Chelsea FC correspondent. Dan.
Honourable. I like honourable. That's good. Let's
feel
keep
like-
that on every time.
I feel like you're an honourable member of not only our channel but also society in general.
Wow, you don't know me very well at all then, do you?
We obviously spent Saturday together at the City Ground. How was your Sunday? What did you get up to?
Sunday was a long trip to and from Lancaster to visit my daughter, who's just started university there. But it was well worth it. She's thriving, surviving. She made her debut for the university women's first team last week. Scored a goal, but got a serious injury.
That's what I like
it's
to
relatively serious on
the Lauren James trajectory to becoming pro, I hope.
Well, but she's already played FA Cup football, but no, just enjoying her football again after some difficult times. But yes, it was a weekend of lots of driving to the windswept north.
Yeah, well, you learn something new every time you come and visit the Sun Chelsea YouTube channel here, and you're watching Chelsea Exposed. I was at the City Ground with Dan on Saturday, and we're going to do a bit of reflection on Chelsea's 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest. 3 points for the second week in a row. The last one, of course, coming over Liverpool. This one saw the end of Big Ange at Forest. Dan, what did you make of the game?
Well, I think the moment we saw Marinakis get out of his seat after Nico Williams missed a chance and disappear down, it always felt that the Chelsea fan taunts of getting sacked in the morning were going to be pretty generous for Ange, and so it proved. And it's every journalist's dream that if something big is going to happen, let's have it happen within 19 minutes of the final whistle, not while I'm driving back down the M1. So many thanks to Forest for that. But I think, although in many ways it was a comfortable victory in the end, and as the scoreline suggests, really, and Maresca would admit this, Chelsea got away with one in the first half because a better team than Forest would have made a lot more of the mistakes which Chelsea made, and Chelsea could have quite easily certainly been a goal down at half time, I thought.
Yeah, they got quite lucky a few times, I think, especially even in the second half where Forest were admittedly chasing the game. There was that one from, I think it was Gibbs White, hit the crossbar and then the post, and Sanchez made a good save in the second half.
From Milenkovic, and then they missed the follow up. There were moments, and I felt if either of those goes in, then it's a really interesting test for Chelsea. And I think the whole point of the game was with the team selection from Maresca. It was an open invitation to some of the players who haven't played so much to prove that yes, I can, or the Chelsea manager can afford to rotate his squad and still win tricky games, which even allowing for Forest's form, away 12:30 after international break, is not an easy game.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the things Reece James. I spoke to Reece James after the Forest game. He came and spoke to us in the mix zone, and that was one of the things he said is the team's been rotated a hell of a lot, and a lot of players come back from international duty. They go on these long flights to wherever it might be. Enzo Fernandez to Argentina, and normally you've got Moises Caicedo going to Ecuador, and these guys going to Brazil, and all these players go away on international duty. Then to come back lunchtime Saturday, it can be a really tricky game to play, no matter who it's against, really. And Chelsea this season just seem to have a little bit more depth and ability to handle those situations. Speaking of Reece James, he was absolutely brilliant in that Forest game, and he really looks like he's getting back to his best form. He looks like he's getting back to his best self. That kind of exciting, forward-thinking player, but also he's got such a defensive solidity to his game.
And he does so many different things. It's not just the balls he can supply from out wide, the set pieces he can do, and his pure defensive ability and strength. It's the way that he can and will step into midfield to create an overload there, and and as he had to a few times, let's be honest, in the first half on Saturday, tidy up mistakes by others. I mean, Chelsea were giving the ball away for fun in the opening half hour, but he was the the player who was the most consistent for the whole game. Even Josh Acheampong is getting rave reviews for scoring the goal. He had a couple of moments too.
Yeah.
So not least in the opening seconds, in fact, when Awani was going down the channel. So I think James's presence and the fact that he's now able to play more than one game a week sometimes is really important. I think Maresca said after the game that the kind of blueprint they followed with James, trying to get him back to fitness and taking it easy with him, resting him entirely for some games or giving him some minutes here and letting Malo Gusto play right back on occasion. That's the kind of the blueprint they're going to use for other players who need to be nursed back to not just full fitness but full match sharpness. People like Romeo Lavia as well, who had 45 minutes on Saturday and the other 45 with Caicedo.
Yeah, Lavia again is one of those players. I didn't think he had his best game by far against Forest.
I think he might have been hooked at half time if he wasn't tired.
Yeah. He is another one of those players, similarly to Reece James, where he can have such an impact. And I think we actually spoke about this last week after the Liverpool game. Yeah. During the international break, we were saying that he's a player that can really come in and change the dynamic of that Chelsea midfield. And he also offers a place for players like Moises Caicedo to get a bit of rest when they're not fully fit or firing. He can be such an important player. But staying on Reece James for a minute, I want to ask you a debate that I've been seeing a lot online this week. And that is, do you think Reece James is the best right back in the world?
I think it's really hard to judge because he hasn't had enough games in a row. Fit and on form, you'd certainly say he'd be in the top 10, maybe the top 5.
Yeah.
But I think we need to see more from him this season to know that he's got back to the levels we know he can reach. He's done, him scoring a goal, chipping in, that's not his main job. If we can see more of him doing what we know he can do, the overlapping runs down the right and providing that extra width and that allows then the right winger to tuck in and just to mix things up for Chelsea, because he's not just a defender. He's important for applying attacking options as well. I think maybe that's a bit premature, but I think Chelsea fans are entitled to be saying outrageous things at the moment because the last 2 league results have been good.
Yeah, I personally think he is number one. If he's not number one, I think he's number 2, and I think the other names up there with him are probably Achraf Hakimi, Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's probably those 3.
Timber's having a decent season.
There was a lot of comparison actually during the international break between Timber and Reece James, and for me, I think Reece James is streets ahead of Jurrien Timber. I think he's got not only Timber is very good defensively, but I think Reece James going forwards is probably as good as anyone else in the world in his position. And then defensively, I think he's got that over Hakimi, the likes of Hakimi at PSG. I think defensively he's better than him, and offensively he's better than the likes of Timber. The only player I think that challenges him really offensively is Trent Alexander-Arnold when he's fit and at his best.
Defensively, there's no comparison whatsoever.
He doesn't come close to Reece James in that sense. And I think hopefully if he can stay fit, he'll be able to prove that at next summer's World Cup. If he maintains his fitness this season and goes to the World Cup, he'll probably start for England under Thomas Tuchel, you would assume,
so,
because he just has that great relationship with Tuchel. And I think that will provide a platform for him to prove that he's the best in the world in his position.
But having talked about the ability to rotate and the fact that with the number before Saturday, it was 7 games in 21 days that Chelsea had coming up. Lots of midweek action for you and for me over the coming weeks, and not least, and especially the players as well. And I think for the next league game, it's going to be harder to rotate Reece James because guess what?
We've got another one.
another red card. And I think although I think obviously when Reece James was speaking to you in the mix zone saying there's not a discipline problem, there are lots of different things, and Maresca is saying there's not a discipline problem, just look at the different kinds of red cards there have been. I think along on the scale of sort of silliness of red cards, or in this case second yellow, that Malo Gusto was getting towards the kind of Nicholas Jackson ones of last season. So not silly, Jackson silly. It's about it's getting along here. I think the word that Maresca used was not quite. He was quite funny. Maresca was struggling to say the right word. He didn't want to say lazy about the passing the first time, and eventually he decided on the word sloppy. So sloppy was the word there. And he said the red card for Gusto was useless. And I think what he meant was pointless.
Yeah.
Because
there was no need.
3-0 up, and it was in his own half, but he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think you've just got to be a little bit more cute and think I'm on a yellow card here.
It's just silly.
I probably don't need to make this challenge. It's 3-0 and there are only moments left, and it's Chelsea at the moment with the number of injuries they've got. It's just the last thing they need, especially because Gusto has proved that he could play in midfield as well, as he did so effectively against Liverpool.
It's just extra hassle that they don't need. No one needs. The Chelsea fans don't need it. Although they were quite enjoying it, weren't they? At the City ground, they were chanting "Red card again, ole ole."
I mean, you can make a joke of it. It might come back to bite them, because you can't keep doing this. And we mentioned before, playing that number of times with 10 men is, if that happened, say 10 minutes earlier, maybe not against Forest, but against other teams. We saw in other games, for instance, Brighton, how it can turn a game against opponents who aren't as lacking in confidence as Forest were. Yeah. The game can just switch like that, as it did against Brighton.
Well, I think at some point, even if it's not in a game as such, like the Forest game, that it comes back to bite them. It's then when you're looking ahead to the next game, and you all of a sudden you've either got to play Reece James for the whole 90 minutes, and then it's like, you'd rather have the option to give him a bit of a rest if need be after, say, 60 minutes or whatever. But it's then if Gusto can't play, then you've got to bring someone else in his position. And although Gusto was poor, without a doubt, against Nottingham Forest, he showed against Liverpool how important he can actually be to Enzo Maresca, especially tactically, because he fills in that almost the Cole Palmer position that he's been. But
it's Cole Palmer not on the ball.
Yeah.
The important thing he's doing is not creating or passing, although it was his little layoff to Caicedo that led to that goal. It's more the off the ball work, and as other teams are now proving against Liverpool, what Gusto did off the ball against Liverpool was absolutely crucial to Chelsea absolutely dominating the game. That was a very different game to the Forest game, because it was a game of two halves. And although you can say, well, fair play to Maresca for making the triple change at half time, it wasn't really the substitutions that made a difference. It was just a really poor bit of defending by Forest, where Williams allows Neto to just burn past him if he's not there, and then they leave Ajax unmarked in the area. Maybe, though, a little bit of credit we should give is throwing Guiu on, which there's so much for the conspiracy theory that he was never going to play him, which was a really that would have been sort of Machiavellian even for Chelsea. But if you watch the replay of the Ajax goal, Guiu is making a nuisance himself with a couple of the Forest defenders. You can argue that they're making a nuisance themselves. He seems to be. You could even make a case for Guiu having been fouled there. Yeah. But he's occupying one way or another two Forest defenders, and there's Ajax absolutely unmarked to score his first goal.
Yeah, I thought Guiu actually was really good when he came on. Not even just technically like the things he was doing with the ball, but the fact he came on up front, his kind of physicality allowed João Pedro to then drop back. And I thought João Pedro was much better in that number 10 position. But whilst Wednesday's game against Ajax should, I think, prove a good opportunity for Mark Guiu to get some more minutes and to play again in that game, maybe from the start this time, he might get that start because João Pedro is, as we said, so many red cards. João Pedro is suspended for that one. We're going to look ahead to the Ajax game now. We've got a lovely Ajax shirt here.
Yeah, so that is a thing of beauty. I had when I was a kid many moons ago. I had it was in the days we couldn't get proper replica shirts, and it was just basically a t-shirt, a really heavy kind of t-shirt with the print on. There's something, there are a few kits and a few clubs in the world who have something iconic that you can recognise, and the Ajax kit is one of those. Definitely. Particularly if you're of a certain age, that just conjures up images of particular players.
Yeah, that for you would be Cruyff, I imagine.
Cruyff, yeah. I mean, I never actually saw him. I don't think I even ever saw him in TV play, but I grew up watching those kind of highlights with the long shirt, almost in the rain, kind of bedraggled, long sleeved, and you grow up on those sort of the tales of that Ajax team and what they're like, and how they changed football, and how his impact is still being felt all these years on, not least through Pep Guardiola.
The Ajax team that I always remember, I'm going to show my age to you here, but the Ajax team I always remember is the one with De Ligt, Frenkie de Jong, Hakim Ziyech, that one that went like deep into the Champions League and then lost out to Spurs.
Yeah, in the semi-final.
But yeah, looking ahead to Chelsea against Ajax on Wednesday, we're also actually going to look back to one of the moments. Reece James, really, we've spoken about him already, but it was one of Reece James' crowning moments. It was like the breakthrough moment for him when he smashed in a volley to equalise for Chelsea to make it 4-4. It's one of the great Chelsea Champions League games, this one. Back in 2019, Chelsea were 4-1 down. I believe it was 2 Jorginho penalties, an Azpilicueta tap in, and then right at the end, Reece James. Really similar, actually. I went and watched the game back. It was really similar to his goal against Forest at the weekend. It's like a cross that comes in, keeper punches it out, and then Reece James just arrives at the perfect time and smashes it. It's his one against Ajax was actually more into the corner, whereas the one against Forest was pretty much straight down the middle. Yeah. But yeah, a really big moment for him, and now he can kind of push on from this moment on. But what do you make of the game on Wednesday? What do you think we can expect?
Well, I'd love it to be a 4-4.
That would be brilliant.
I haven't had a really fantastic goal-packed game yet this season, and I think Ajax. I mean, the thing that's constant with Ajax, which we've had all the way through the years from when I was a kid to when you were a kid, and all the way through to now, is continually producing these young these great young players. I mean, actually, the team I remember was the team that actually won the Champions League in 1995, which had your Kluiverts and so on in, and the fact that they're able to keep doing that even in an age where the discrepancy, the days where Dutch clubs can regularly challenge for major European honours are long gone. They always have to punch above their weight, always have to sell their best players. And I think obviously another talking point from this game is Jarell Hatto, who was signed for a not insignificant amount of money this summer, and probably, I don't know whether he was expecting more game time. I think Maresca said at the start for him and for Estevao and others that he would, as far as he could, give them time to adapt to the demands of the Premier League and of being a Chelsea player. We haven't seen a lot of him yet. Whether Maresca will regard this game as an opportunity to give Hatto some time, and where that opportunity will be, I'd imagine more likely at left back to give Cucurella some time. A bit of rest, I mean, it's an important game. It's one of those games where you obviously want to win it. You want to win every game, but it's a game against a side from a different pool where you're expected to win that game, and you want to get as many points on the board before you're going away for the difficult trip to Baku. Yeah, and I'm not just talking about my flights there.
Yeah, you're less than happy with those flights. So I understand.
Yeah. Long layovers in Istanbul, not my
ideal
choice
at all, but. Yeah, it's definitely a big Champions League game for Chelsea, this one, and also a good opportunity for them just to build some form of like winning consistency. It's obviously a few wins on the bounce now. This is a chance to make it a third in a different competition.
And then Sunderland
at home.
Saturday,
you'd fancy them, obviously. Sunderland, I think, actually on the same amount of points as Chelsea now, or they might be one behind. I'm not exactly sure. Right, Dan, so the last section of this video, we're going to be going through some hot takes from Chelsea fans. I had a look on Twitter and I asked for some from the Chelsea Exposed viewers as well to see what their Chelsea hot takes were this season. We're just going to discuss them, see if you agree with them, see if I agree with them.
Based on the Reece James best right back in the world. I suspect I'm probably going to disagree, but bring them on. Let's see if I agree with them.
Right. The first one we've got is that Chelsea should have not signed Jamie Gittins. They had obviously a few left-wing options. They let João Felix go. They've got still Tyreek George at the club, not playing as much of a role as he would have liked. But they chose instead to sign Gittins and Alejandro Garnacho as well. What do you make of those signings? Do you think that was a mistake, or what do you think?
It's not a mistake letting Felix go. He had not one but two chances at Chelsea. Didn't take them. Whatever he might feel about the game time he was given and the position he was asked to play. Getting rid of João Felix is a no-brainer. And honestly, that was one of maybe second only to the unbelievable mega money Nkunku deal.
Yeah.
I mean, persuading the Saudi club to pay up that much for João Felix, I think, was a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
Gittins, I mean, I know we're sitting here days after poor old Ange Postecoglou was not given very many games to prove himself at Forest, but I think Gittins needs more game time and more trust. And so we've discussed this before, that the Bundesliga is a very different league. And just as Gareth Southgate used to urge caution about how well Jadon Sancho was doing for Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, you'd have to look at the how Gittins performed last season. Well, no, not just last season, but the season before as well at Dortmund, and say, okay, that's great there, but let's see how he gets on in the Premier League. But to show what he can do in the Premier League, he needs some more time. I don't think Garnacho, in the appearances he's had so far, has pulled up any trees, and that would be the reason, one of the reasons he was taken off at half time against Forest as well. So I'm not. So this is not a very hot take. This is a very sort of long take. But short answer: not a mistake to get rid of Felix, and it's just too early to say whether Gittins is a good signing or not.
So we're disagreeing with that one.
Yeah.
I disagree also. I think Gittins needs more time. Exceptional talent, was brilliant for England under 21s, and they got great money for Felix, so it's too early to say in that sense. The second one, when everyone is fit, I know how you feel about this one already. When everyone is fit, Chelsea have the best and most balanced squad in the league. Agree or disagree?
Well, if they did, they'd be closer to the top than they are, and I don't think they do. I mean, you can look at the way things are going. It feels to me like it's Arsenal's title to lose, and that maybe, in fact, that City might be their closest challengers. And I think you'd look at City's squad, and if they're all fit and firing, you'd still say that was stronger. And I think you'd say Arsenal's squad was too, even though there's still question marks over Gyökeres. I think, as we've said, I mean, Liam Delap has had one season in the Premier League, done very well at Ipswich. Is injured. Even when he's fit, is he going to be as good as Gyökeres or Haaland? And again, I think although Liverpool are, their form's fallen through the floor, if you look at their strength and depth in their squad, you'd say that's the best squad on paper. But the game is not played on paper, and this is the joy of it. So I think Chelsea have got a very solid squad. You definitely say they'd have to be top four for sure. But I think that they're going to have to overperform if they're going to win the league and finish ahead of Liverpool and City and Arsenal.
Right, Dan. These are hot takes.
Okay.
We're getting paragraphs from you for each one. We need a quick, short, snappy answer. So you disagree?
I disagree.
I disagree as well. Chelsea's squad is, I don't think, anywhere near that of Arsenal's, especially defensively. Their centre-backs are just not to the same calibre as Arsenal's. Right, on to the third one. Short, snappy answer from you, please, Dan.
Okay.
Robert Sanchez.
So impatient, your generation.
We're getting these TikTok clips. They need to be 3 or 4 seconds.
Right,
Look them in. Robert Sanchez is becoming an elite goalkeeper. Well,
he's getting better than he was when he got sent off after 4 minutes against Manchester United. Again, too early to say, but he's had better games recently. Made a good save against Forest.
This is one I'm slightly more inclined to agree with. I think he has had a bit of a harsh rap from people, including myself, over the last probably year or so. I think since the Club World Cup, he's actually been very good, but still has those errors in him that I'm not sure elite is the right term I'd use, but he's getting better. So, hot take, yes, I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's probably the one I'm most inclined to agree with. Last one. Esteval will win the Young Player of the Season award.
He's certainly getting Player of the Season in my midfield in my fantasy team at the moment. I like his ability to come on and score or create. I think it's going to be tough for him because the way things are going, he's probably not getting enough minutes and may not simply have enough time to get enough goals and assists. But I think if you carry on as he is, he'll be in the conversation. He'll be in the conversation.
Right, Dan, thank you very much for joining me for this week's episode of Chelsea Exposed. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Chelsea Sunspot YouTube channel, and we'll see you back here next Monday after Chelsea have played Ajax and Sunderland for the next episode of Chelsea Exposed.